I think, yeah, Polygon has always been, as a company, not just a chain, but I would say as a company has always been in the forefront of new payment trends in the industry or ecosystem. So really love looking at what you guys are building right now, and you are already prepared for what's coming.
Yep.
So James, you mentioned Polygons runs its own X402 facilitator. So a lot of people who are listening now or who might listen later on, what that means functionally. So would you like to, or would you care to explain a little bit to the people who are new here, to X402 technology or X402, as a protocol, or how the protocol and signing works? That what does the facilitator do in this entire pipeline? Or basically, what is a facilitator? Why Polygon is hosting one, and what does it mean? And how does it compare to the, Coinbase facilitator, which Coinbase runs?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. And so, I want to give kudos. Like, I mean, Coinbase also did a large push for basically X402. For those of you who don't know, like really basic is X402 actually came out of a HTTP status code. So this code called 402 basically just sat unused for a very long time. And basically, you would, if you make a website request or an HTTP request, it would basically say a payment is required and then respond with a 402 error code. So that's where X402 basically comes from. And in short, this was kind of, I wouldn't say hijacked, but utilized because it really wasn't being utilized at all in order to basically capitalize it for like crypto payments. And so a facilitator basically sits in order to do payment verification and actually handle a lot of the settlement. So in short, you can basically augment any API endpoint with basically X402 handlers. And what it allows you to do is whenever someone wants to, let's say I want to make a request at QuickNode, I want to get some, blockchain information or make an indexing call or whatever the case is. I would basically ask one of those endpoints, hey, can you get me my token balance or whatever I would like to do? And it would respond with payment required. It would send it back to my agent. The agent could then detect how much payment is necessary in order to access that resource. And then it would simply make the payment to where the response basically said to make the payment to, and then it would allow access once I pass the verification to that endpoint. So in short, it's a really seamless way for agents to unauthenticated make API requests. And so this
Yeah.
was typically a problem. I'm sure you guys have experienced it where you can't have really unauthenticated endpoints that people
Mm-hmm.
just don't pay for because that's how you get DDoSed. And in short, the payment aspect basically mitigates that potential risk. So it's a really elegant solution, and it allows agents that don't have potentially an email and password or can't do two-factor authentication or self captchas. That's actually being worked on now, but in short, that allows them access to these API endpoints to get data.
100%. And like good good that you mentioned that we obviously cannot have unauthenticated agents or unauthenticated, you know second party using us for any kinds of things, because you have to have some sort of authentication to use an endpoint. So in that way you can manage their usage, in that way you can manage their traffic, wherever the traffic is going to, etc., etc. So on that, in fact, we have I'll just speak a little bit on how we have tackled it. So what we do is, in our X402 proxy, what we do is, whenever a user or an agent, they want to sign up for an endpoint, they send a request. Let's say that they want to get um, latest block from Polygon. So they send get block for latest, and then they send the request to the proxy, and then the proxy sends the request. Like, they check if that particular second party is authenticated or not, and if it's not, it sends as you mentioned in earlier, that it sends 402 payment required error. And then basically the party or agent will just send that request again, but now with payment. And then what they do is they sign in with Ethereum in this case. And in the message they also accept QuickNode. They also have to accept QuickNode's terms and conditions, because in a way they will be using the platform's data, etc., etc. So they do that, and then they send the request along with that signed in with Ethereum message, and of course payment. So once that's done, then the proxy settles the payment with the facilitator. In this case, it will be the Polygon facilitator. And then once the payment is settled, it will start serving the request to actual QuickNode infrastructure, and the agent will start getting the data. And they'll keep on getting the data for whatever credits they paid. And once that credit exhausts, they again get a like not X402, but they again get a 402 payment required, and the loop continues. And that's how it works. It's if you look at it, you know, on a very high level, it's very straightforward and can look very simple, but it's very much useful for anyone who wants to use blockchain data completely via agents, without any account, without any email whatsoever. And every user or every agent even gets a JWT token assigned to them, so that we can make sure that this agent is authenticated, and they have initially generated a JWT token, and they can only access that. So I guess enough of that, but maybe I should move on with the questions. So James, I mentioned that Polygon recently launched a subsidized gas program for agents. So, would you like to talk a little bit more about that? But before that, if you would like to cover that, uh, what does Polygon's near instant finality and low transaction cost means for these agents? Because these agents a lot of time makes thousands of micropayments. So why does that matter, and what does that means for these agents?
Yeah, yeah. So I can talk a little bit about like the mindset behind this and why we decided to do this. So essentially, we have priority fees on Polygon, and a
Mhm.
portion of these are like we're being burned via 5059. And so we identified that like agentic payments was a key priority, and we wanted to accelerate this on Polygon. So we decided that a portion of those fees would be basically allocated to the addresses associated with the X402 facilitator that we run. And so, in short, this allows you to actually make payments, X402 payments specifically, at no cost for the agent. And why that's so important, and why also Polygon in general is so important for agentic payments, is because in general the chain has extremely low cost, so very low transaction fees, which agents tend to love. Because as you mentioned, a lot of these payments, like they're high volume, but they're low in value. So like they can be micro payments or nano payments, and this is quite common with agents in general. And so you really need a chain that can settle at low transaction cost. And what we see time and time again is a lot of the other facilitators that are hosted, they will have like a free tier, which is fairly low in most cases. And then the second you kick in like over 500 requests or different thresholds, all of a sudden it becomes economically like unviable for a lot of use cases. And so we really wanted to identify that this is a strategic imperative and that we needed to accelerate this specific vertical. And so, what this basically means is you can have the highest profit margins for your agent, whatever you're running on Polygon. So that's quite important. Is by leveraging our X402 facilitator, you can get kind of the highest value add. So businesses like QuickNode, or if you're running your own, agent, you're also paying the lowest cost. And I think something that's very interesting and that's unique to agents that hasn't really been socialized yet is agents don't have the same like switching costs that humans do.
Yeah.
So as an engineer, like if I integrate with one provider, I generally like I have to be convinced to make a big move and spend resources to actually do this. But agents don't really have this problem, and they can analyze at scale. Okay, if I'm making payments over here versus making payments over here, what is kind of the delta between these two? And so their volume naturally flows to the path of least resistance. And so what we see is they will gravitate to where fees are the lowest, and therefore it's important to do this at scale. And so I think that's something to note that we see a lot more of is you also need to build for an agentic world where these kind of switching costs are quite lower, and you can also capitalize on kind of the scale.
Yeah, 100%. And I can I can attest to the point where you said they will move towards the path of least resistance, and just it's not just agents who love those lower fees. I think we humans love those lower fees more than them, because it's at the end of the day it's our money they are using. So on that note, James, would you like to dive a little bit deeper into the latest Polygon agent CLI, where it supports uh, wallet creations, wallet allowances, session limits, etc. So, how does that looks like for an agent? And do you give a context to an agent, and can you manage the level of allowances and level of permissions you give to an agent? So basically, how does that look like for me, who wants to make a agent, let's say who does perps on Polygon, and I want this agent to handle my wallet end to end. So how does that look like for me in this example?
Yeah, yeah. So great question. So I this has been pretty widely recognized, and I see a lot of people, they have their agentic wallet. But I think something that I've noticed working a lot with agents, whether it's OpenClaw or Claude or Codex, is that typically I had to, cobble together a bunch of different like services in order to have something worthwhile. And it's pretty hard to like the discovery layer of like agentic stuff still hasn't really been figured out. Like I have to know where skills and where different services are. And so we wanted to kind of aggregate a few different services into a single CLI to make it really smooth to actually build applications or have your agent actually transact on chain. So that was the focus of the agentic CLI. And so, in short, you hit the nail on the head. So, one innovation is basically using um, a smart wallet, and the smart wallet is basically unique to agents in particular because you can create what we call smart sessions. So you basically, your agent will ask you to like authorize this wallet, and it will also ask you like, what are the limitations that you want your agent and you want to give your agent? So as an example, I want to only do 100 USDC per day. I only want to interact with these contract addresses, like you mentioned, a perps protocol. I only want to, interact with perps, and this happens over some time frame. So what it allows you to do is you can actually like you sign as a human, and you give permissions for your agent to do this over whatever kind of time frame you like. And then your agent can go off to the races, can transact, can do anything on chain. You can let it run free, but you have all the basically security permissions like set on chain. So that way people can do things like prompt injections if they find it, or highly mitigated. It also enables you to have more security that you can give more funds to your agent to transact autonomously. Because I found like when you're using an EOA or you're using other kind of wallets that don't have these permissioning setups, it's really hard to trust your agent to use quite a lot of funds other than like play money to do anything worthwhile or to have it act autonomously. Like I have an agent set up to automatically find the best yield bearing protocols once per day and switches between these different ones. And so this is something that's easy to set up with the agentic CLI, and you can just easily analyze this. It can call different functions to get like the amount that it holds in balances, and then also automatically swap or bridge. So if these DeFi protocols are on different chains, it can also take advantage of that. So that's a little bit about what we build is like consolidating all these services into a single CLI, having the smart wallet and those on-chain permissions. And then we also built a few different skill files that walk you through the different flows. So if you have OpenClaw, you can just install one of those skill files. It'll read the whole thing and then literally just run off to the races, and you can start transacting on chain. So it's really cool.
Got it. And I think, James, on that note, it'll be a good segue into asking what are the early apps which are you seeing right now? What are builders gravitating towards? So read somewhere that OpenClaw have successfully done AI to AI commercial transaction on Polygon. So that's one example. But what are you seeing? Like, what's new being built? Because we already talked about what Polygon has to offer for to help these builders get started on the chain, get started with these AI toolings, and how they can easily use these tools to use these agents interact on Polygon. So what are these new things that are being built you are seeing?
Right. So a few things that come to mind. So of course, like Polygon is the home of Polymarket. And so a large amount of on-chain activity, I would say actually the vast majority, is centered around prediction markets. And a big reason for this is because LLMs are uniquely positioned to analyze like social information and actually capitalize on that. So like LLMs are still not really used in quantitative trading firms, like to actually like, oh, what is the price of Bitcoin
Mhm.
in the next hour or so?
Yeah.
LLMs are still really bad at this, and they're not better than chance. However, they are really good at parsing, all the information that's currently happening on X, looking at who you should be following, and then making like bets associated with that on prediction markets, since it's really reactive to social media and basically like what people are talking about. So that's something that's very unique to Polygon, where of course Polymarket is the biggest prediction market. And so you can have agents that are interacting with like X or other social media in order to get a great advantage. So we see a lot of people building agents to interact with Polymarket and then doing different strategies there. Another one is also like, as I mentioned, kind of evaluating or having autonomous kind of yield finding opportunities. So a lot of DeFi use cases where agents can like autonomously get the best savings rate for you. This is really cool, and I use this like myself personally, and it's a lot of cool. See like your agent kind of like move around and float around between different DeFi protocols like autonomously. And then some things that I'm also like excited about is the more innovative things that are happening in the space. Like, for instance, someone released like Rent a Human, where you can have your agent like rent a human to actually do things in the physical world for you, which is hilarious. So yeah, we had someone like yeah, we rented someone to actually like hold up a sign, and like Polygon is the home for agentic payments and things like this. So it's you can do like these innovative things, but I think that's where I see a lot more opportunity. Of course, like yeah, the prediction markets and DeFi I think are very clear use cases, and then more innovative ones. And the last one is like simply agents are going to want to pay each other.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how much you've looked into like 8004, but I think as we build these better discovery layers of how agents can actually find each other and then like what services these other agents are offering, it's a natural extension that there needs to be payments between them. And so we're seeing a lot more innovation on like specifically like the discovery layer. How do you find agents that you actually want to interact with, like QuickNote, for instance? And then also, how do you make those payments more efficient automatically?
Got it. Yeah, I mean, the reputation layer, which is being built with the 804 EIP, I think that is that is the key for these agent to agents marketplace, where they can find and along with MCPs, where they can find these other agents via MCPs and learn or what kind of services those other agents are providing, and having a reputation score because of that EIP, I think is very crucial. So this kind of solves the building block which is required to make these agent to agent marketplaces and service exchanges possible. So 100% agree on that.
Hmm.
And I think just the Polymarket API, that the launch of that API has just accelerated these use cases where people are building workflows and the use cases around prediction markets. So yeah, I mean, even at the recent hackathon, I think it was ETH Denver, most of the projects, I think more than 80% of the projects which people were working on were something either related to prediction market or AI or both. So I would say 70% were prediction markets plus AI, then other 30% were somewhere around scattered between either prediction market or either AI. So I think that is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, use cases what people are using these workflows, AI plus agentic payments is for. But yeah, so just wanted to sorry, just wanted to mention that as sorry if I went
No, that's
into rabbit
super
holes.
helpful. I'm seeing something very similar as like, I mean, the hot trend right now is of course agentic stuff. And I think people are seeing that the obviously AI is very hot even outside of crypto.
Mhm.
And so people are trying to, how can we tap into kind of the AI narrative within? Um, but it's I've seen a lot of other industries, it's a little tangential, but in crypto there's a very natural fit. And crypto especially is very ideal for payments, actually transacting and making payments, like because you have this unpermissioned layer which naturally fits into kind of like a agent's workflow. And so I think we'll just see this like space explode over the next year or two. I think we still need to land a few good applications that are like unique, especially to agents. So I don't think we've hit on the biggest use cases just yet,
Yeah.
but we see more and more being built out, and I would expect this to continue. And I think when it does actually land, it will just go exponential.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we even haven't seen like 100% full potential use cases for crypto itself. And the AI layer just adds or widens this scope of use cases. So I think it's going to just get exponential from here. And we are going to see a lot more innovative and even novel use cases of both of these technologies. So, James, another question I had was I mean, this is a bit of a different question, not really related to people using these protocols or tools, but something where if people are willing to contribute to this. So most of the stuff which even Polygon is working on, and even what QuickNode is working on, for example, we have two Ruby libraries, one which people can integrate into Rails and accept micropayments, like Ruby on Rails app and accept micropayments, and one package we have for Ruby where you could sign payments and in HTTP headers and send it to the X402 protocol. And of course, we have the X402 protocols proxy as well. All of it open source. So I wanted to ask you, being the head of developers relations, that what is the willingness you are seeing from people to contribute to these kind of projects, to projects which are open source, not just using them, but to contribute to them? Are you seeing any interest there or uptick there?
I mean, of course, we see a lot of. I mean, the open source is actually booming now because, well, everyone is a developer nowadays.
Yeah.
So, so I think actually, like almost ironically, now it's actually hard. It's much harder than it was previously because if I wanted to make a pull request to your repository, I had to, go into the repo, get a somewhat general understanding of like the structure of the code and the syntax and how to actually contribute to the repository and make sure it's structured well. And now I see a large um, avalanche of like people just submitting PRs for everything, and they're just using AI. And then it becomes actually more difficult to maintain over time.
Mhm.
So I would expect that we have some incentive layer in order to do this. So I know there's a few people from the like Ethereum Foundation and several others where like if you want one of your PRs included into an open source repo, then you should pay the maintainer something, or you should put up some kind of stake. And then if you just have like a bad pull request, then your stake can be slashed, which I find somewhat interesting. But I suspect that we'll have to like as more and more people become developers and start contributing to open source repos. This will probably be something that we need to maintain. But it is also nice because a lot of if you're only an open source protocol, it wasn't so clear how you actually could create a viable business model. And I think now with agents, you can create a much better one by doing things like what I just mentioned.
Got it. And on the user side as well, a lot of people are using it because I can see that recently I read that Polygon has surpassed any other chains in terms of USDC activity, and most of the people who uses these agentic payments of course uses USDC. So of course Polygon's market share in X402 transactions is also very high. So what do you think is driving that adoption? Is that the fee structure or the stablecoin liquidity or something else? And I think like and before you answer that question, I personally think that this is just going to get increased from here because the catalysts are these Polygon CLI and the gas subsidy program you guys are running.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, as you as you mentioned, like we are one of the biggest stablecoin platforms, and now the biggest. So we have billions of dollars flowing through Polygon all the time in stablecoin volume and payments volume. So, I mean, a few things that are kind of driving this there is we have a lot of enterprises that are building real use cases, real payment use cases on Polygon. And this is for a few reasons, is because it's an extremely stable and scalable chain. It's been live in production for a number of years now, so people rely on it. It's been battle tested. It can serve, large amount of volume, like poly market. So payments companies know that they can rely on it at scale. And then the second thing is like we are constantly iterating and expanding the amount of throughput that the chain can handle. So I think over the past few weeks we've almost like accelerated 1.5x. I would have to look at the exact number, the amount of throughput that the chain can handle. And so this is also something that like we can scale extremely fast, and we have a good team in order to do this. So that's what we see driving a lot of the volume is um, cheap, fast, reliable, scalable is really a home run. And then, we work closely with a lot of enterprises to bring more of that volume on chain. And I think more broadly, we also releasing the open money stack. And so that's really a philosophy of like, how do you move money anywhere in the world? It doesn't matter if it's on chain or off chain. I just want to make a transaction and we can find the best route for you. So this is a large focus of ours, is accelerating just money movement. And we've already accomplished that. And so we're doubling down there.
Awesome. That's that was a really good answer by the way. So
That's the agent side, and we're just strategically what we're doing.
so James, before we move on to the Q&A session, I would just like to ask you a last question. Like, apart from what already in works, is there any new things which are on the roadmap, or new benchmarks, or new metrics, or new goals to achieve for your team and the foundation in general? for these AI and agentic payment stuff for the rest of this year?
Yeah. I'll speak to the AI stuff. Of course, we have goals across the whole org and the foundation, but on the AI side of things specifically, really we want to get more agents acting autonomously on chain. So a core goal of ours is to get more people using the CLI, making it easier to actually interact with interesting applications. I think now that we have this infrastructure in place and like kind of an opinionated flow to get someone like started from they know nothing about agents to deploying something that adds value, we're going to double down there and then connect with like these various applications, services such as QuickNode in order to amplify kind of their development process and make it more useful for agents. And they can buy more things. So this is really a core focus over the next few months is working with partners such as yourself to get more people actually using these different protocols. I think that's what I see as the missing layer. We have a lot of infrastructure in place, and now it's time to build useful things or make it easier to build useful things and to iterate really quickly. So that's a core goal over the next few months is onboarding more X402 sellers, creating more interesting applications, onboarding more X402 buyers so people have unique and interesting things to buy. So that's what we'll be doing over the next few months.
That's amazing, and that just gives me. I mean, I just thought of doing content together as well. So we do these videos. We do a lot of these videos. So I was just thinking, you or someone from your team, we should do a video together where we build something completely, of course, by using AI, but and also for AI, where the AI agent will be using that whatever we built.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely always down to I think that's what I love about the engineering side and about how much Claude and OpenAI has accelerated the dev process is like if I come up with any idea, you can have a working prototype in minutes,
It's
basically. And then you iterate and it's like just wild from what I
it's ridiculously fast and seamless right now. Like you just have to be good at explaining and be thorough in your prompt, and you can just one shot everything. If you were very comprehensive or if you were very on point with what you want, you could basically one shot everything right at this point.
Yeah, I haven't used it in a little while, but I don't know if you're familiar with Ralph at all, but it was like this more or less like a loop that you just put like Claude in,
Mm.
and it would break down like if you wanted to build, I don't know, a remittance app or something, it would break down this app into like 100 bite-sized like context windows, and then it would literally just do a for loop and like loop through every use case and like produce it. But now, like LLMs are so good, most times I can just one shot more or less anything as long as I describe it properly, and then I'm off to the races from there, and then I iterate.
Yeah, 100%. Because I haven't used the one you were speaking about, but I just use Cloud Code now, and I mean, it itself runs runs multiple agents, and one will do research, one will start executing it, and one will make sure that whatever the other is trying to write is it basically a auditor, so they can even audit. I mean, of course, you cannot trust or make 100% production grade softwares, but it's great for creating sample apps and great for creating POC apps which you want to create on day-to-day basis to show people how things work, etc., etc.
Yep, for sure. So that's something that has been really helpful. I think it's also really helpful to, if I build an application or I want to show a new piece of technology, I can have a working application very quickly and just showcase it to a potential user. So I think I love this. Yeah, this really fast iterative process that you can do now.
Got it. And with that being said, I guess we can open the stage for people if they have any questions. James, you can even go ahead if you have any questions for us or QuickNote team.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm curious what's on the roadmap for you all, especially on the agentic side. I'm sure you're building stuff across the whole org, but yeah, what's next on the AI side and how you plan to expand there?
So I think just going more deeper with the integration, what we currently have is on our roadmap right now. For example, right now we do support RPCs via X402, but the QuickNote product stack, it goes much beyond that. So we do have some other comprehensive products as well, which is streams, and there's another new one which is coming, which is SQL Explorer. So I think just exposing those products via X402 will be very interesting to see, because with streams you can basically set up a ETL pipeline, entire ETL pipeline, without setting up each portion of the pipeline, for example extraction, transformation, loading part separately, but everything is just handled by streams. So I think that will unlock a lot more potential for AI agents to work with blockchain data at scale, or should say tremendous scale. And for example, for a chain like Polygon, if an agent is just reading data from the chain continuously and just reading fresh data, it could be a lot of data to work with, because the chain moves so fast. So yeah, so new products, and then just adding a bunch of support and error handling features around the Explorer 2 SDK what we have, and adding SLAs to it, because right now the Explorer 2 endpoints, they do not have SLAs, because I mean, how is agent going to open a ticket? I mean, if it's a open claw agent, or if it's a agent, it can definitely do that. But just these two things, adding more product supports and adding better uh, support in general for any kind of errors, any kind of things that might go wrong, so that we can have autonomous guardrails to support whoever are using those APIs.
Ooh, that's very interesting. Yeah, admittedly, I haven't thought so much about like the SLA side of things, so that's really cool that you're working on that. So definitely would love to hear more about it, especially in the streaming stuff. I think that would be really common with agents, and they'll need to tap into that data for very fast reading and transactions.
Oh, 100%. So I guess we can open the floor to the people who are listening. So if anyone has any questions, just raise your hand, and we will make sure to bring you all up to the stage, and you can just ask the questions, be it for QuickNode or Polygon. Feel free to ask them. And in the meantime, James, I think if anyone doesn't have any question, I have few. So I would just and this is for both of us. So what do you think will be that one category that defines this X402 X agentic payments in 2024? What would that be? Is it DeFi agents, data marketplaces, computation, or content monetization? What do you think that's going to be?
Oh, if I knew, I would probably invest in it. Um, so I mean, I have my ideas. I think there's a massive opportunity for this is like not so wild, but you take basically existing services and you make them more agentic friendly. Um, yeah, I think that's a pretty common one. Like someone did this with like agent mail, so just email for agents. I think there's a large opportunity to identify what are prominent use cases that need to be like modified for agents and make them more compatible. Um, and I think the reason for this is because then you can just have what humans already want to do, but agents can do with 1000x capacity and at scale. So I think that's a very interesting thing. Um, I think we do need the models to be slightly cheaper. We're already
Yes.
seeing a lot of open source models coming out now that are filling this niche. Like I'm already hitting max plans with a lot of these. And if you have something that's really autonomous, then you're just chewing through tokens. So I think a little more innovation on like the model side, and we'll be actually in a good place. I would say in the next 6 months.
Yeah.
But in terms of services, yeah, I mean, I can talk about the on-chain things like I already mentioned, DeFi and prediction markets. I do think an autonomous um, agent that can monitor, like monetize my finances or optimize my finances is very attractive. This is something that I don't have the time to do, even though I would love to do. And I would love to just point my agent, um, whether it's, and by the way, whether it's even crypto or yield opportunities or investing in the stock market or whatever the case is, I would love to just have an agent kind of like
Yeah.
optimize my finances. I
100%.
think there's a big opportunity there once you have things like in a secure state.
Yeah. Yeah. And on your point of making these models more cheaper, I would say that there's always TensorFlow. We all could go back to TensorFlow and start training our own models and create our own LLMs. So
The OG.
yeah, yeah, it was crazy, right? Like the times when it was all machine learning, not even AI.
I know. I miss the days of support vector machines, and you had recurrent neural networks, which was like before transformers. Now everything's just
Yes. So coming back to the question, so I personally think that X402, along with the EIP 8004, I think it unlocks a possibility of I have spoken about this earlier as well in the space, that this unlocks the possibility of AI to AI services. And I think the market, we are going to see a lot of these. We are already seeing, but we are going to see a lot more marketplaces where AI agents can just transact with each other, get service from one another, and then, you know, do end to end things without any human interventions, where you just have an agent to set up your day to day stuff. Let's say that I mean, this is just a vague, very vague example, but let's say that you have a agent set up, and you have that agent set up to do your intraday trades. You have that agent set up to order groceries for you. Um, let's I mean it's possible right now, right? For example, these refrigerators, what you have these days, they have AI in them. They sends you notifications on what groceries you are running low on. You can have cameras in your kitchen, and using those image feeds, you can understand, or your agents can understand, or these models can understand what things you are running low on. So a world where the
automatic refrigerator ordering. That's what I want.
yeah, so imagine, like, your agent sees that, hey, I'm running low on milk, so it orders, it goes on and orders that from maybe Amazon MCP, and then Amazon MCP, and there's an agent on that side, and it accepts X402 and keeps track of their inventory, etc., etc. So yeah, I'm sorry, I digress. So just to be very short and simple, I would say the evolution of these AI to AI marketplaces and services is what I think we are going to see a lot, or if I would like to see a lot in the second half of the year at least, where everything will be handled by these agents, and they will do
Mhm.
agent to agent payments, they will do agent to agent service exchanges.
Yeah, I hope that's the case. So I saw a good post where someone put out basically like, yeah, right now we're prompting agents to do something for us. But eventually, agents will also learn your context and they'll have your own history of what you asked for. And we'll be able to like preemptively decide, okay, you need X, Y, and Z, or you asked me to do like a much more general task. And it can find out exactly what you need. Like, oh, my son is going back to school next month. Okay, he needs a backpack, he needs pencils, whatever the case
Yeah.
is. And the agent will just realize this and do it without you even requesting it, assuming you give it permission. So I think this is very interesting of how it can like automize a lot of different things.
100%. And I think that's good in a way, and even scary a bit. It's
Just a bit.
but yeah, more on the good side, I would say. And another question is like, so Explorer 2 currently relies heavily on USDC, right? So what happens when more tokens and more chains come online? Does this fragment the ecosystem or strengthen it? What's your take on that?
I don't think it fragments it. I mean, I think people should be, in general, my philosophy is people should be able to pay in whatever they want.
Hmm.
Of course, stable coins have, or especially USDC has the biggest, kind of synergy with XR2 right
Yeah.
now. But regardless of whether it's stable coins or the native token of the chain or whatever other tokens it wants to pay in, um,
But we are almost at the top of the hour, and I think we have been speaking for almost 58 minutes. So,
beautiful.
so if anyone has any questions, this will be the time to ask those. And if not, like, you can always DM James, or you can always DM me, or even Polygon or QuickNote accounts if you have any questions around the blockchain in general, or even using the tools, whatever we support. All right, so looks like no questions. So I would just like to say, if you are looking to build on Polygon, you can go to the docs linked in the pinned comment. You would be able to see those on top of the space. So if you're looking to build on Polygon, those docs could be a really good place to start. And yeah, have been working with Polygon team from a long time. It's been years now. So, so yeah, I think you guys are going to see a lot more of these, if not continuously, but definitely occasionally. So, yes, if you are building on Polygon, that's great. Go to those docs still and learn what we support for Polygon. And if you are thinking on starting on with Polygon, again, go to those docs, and you will find 0 to 1 guides as well. So that's my call to action. And James, if you would like to share anything with people, what they should be looking out for, where they can find you and your team next, any event, any online stream, workshop, whatever you want to share.
Yeah, yeah. I would think, my call to action is, check out the Agentic CLI. Let us know your feedback. If you'd like to have anything incorporated there, we're more than happy to collaborate on that. So yeah, I think that would be the main thing. And the next few months will be, at a bunch of different events all over the world. So my team and others from Polygon. So I'm sure you'll find us out there at different fintechs, crypto conferences all over the world. So we'll be there. And yeah, if you're looking to build on Polygon, if you want to use AI, um, more than happy to get in touch and would love to chat more about it. So I always like talking AI and agentic stuff. So more than happy to help no matter where it is.
Amazing. And for people who are wondering, where can I find Polygon Agent CLI's link? So you can just go to the comment section of this space, and I have linked the GitHub for Polygon's agentic CLI, or Polygon Agent CLI to be precise. So you can just go to the GitHub, learn what it is, how it works. I can see they also have a really easy to understand architecture diagram or a flow diagram. So yeah, highly recommended. And I think I'm gonna look at it. I'm gonna check it out myself as well. So yeah, please check it out. It's linked in the comments of the space. And
Beautiful. All right.
if you have any questions, or if you run into any blockers, you know whom to text. You have to bother James.
Always worth the bother. Definitely no problem on my end. So thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate the feedback and would love to hear your feedback as well on the CLI. Thanks for having me.
For sure, for sure, for sure. It was a pleasure having you, James. And thanks, Polygon.